Hello, beautiful people. My name is Kristen. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel to hear my first book reviews of 2026. I read 3 chunksters to start off the year. Did I do that on purpose? Was I trying to do that? No, it just worked out that way. So I'm going to hold them up. You can scroll along to where you want. I'm going to do them in order from least enjoyed to most enjoyed. The third one being a 5-star read for me that I predict, even at this early stage, is going to make my top 10 of the year. Starting off, I want to talk about Waking Ursa Minor by Helen Pederson. So this is a fantasy novel that is very creative in the sense of it is kind of involving the stars. There is a magical mystery that stars have disappeared because the world has been broken. There are shift changers and mer creatures and all those kind of typical fantasy creatures in this world. I really super enjoyed having the set normal theme of there is a unexpected happening that orphans, they're trying to find out if their parents are alive or dead, what their identity is, and of course the entire universe hangs on the balance as they're trying to fulfill their quest, right? There's always this magical quest, and then going along and meeting all your other characters involved in the story. And this book does a really good job of that, but I felt like it was written very introductory, if you will, very well done introductory. So what I would say is I would recommend this to young readers. There is violence, there is sexuality in it, but it is not graphically done or overly done. So I would highly recommend this to some of my teenagers that are just starting off reading, just starting to get into fantasy. It goes along and holds your interest and has some really creative little unique things about it. But it is a duology. It's about 700 and some pages long. I don't at this point personally plan to read the other one. I felt like it came to a conclusion that I can live with. Am I mad that I read it? No. I'm really pleased that I read it, but I would recommend it with the limitations that I have spoken of. Secondly, I did finish this month Margaret Thatcher, the Autobiography. This is also about a 700-page book. All these are about 700, right under 800. So don't know that these count for your March of the Mammoth, but if you're looking for a March of the Mammoth, I think you could get away with picking any of these 3. Margaret Thatcher, of course, was the Prime Minister in Great Britain from 80 to 90-ish. And this is her account, her actual stories, and taken from her letters and her diaries and her words from growing up, becoming the Prime Minister, and then serving until the end. And then that's where the book ends. So I had to kind of almost read this as if I was watching a documentary. It felt very much like a really well-written textbook with a lot of personal side stories that made it really come to life and got me even giggling sometimes. She's a brilliant woman. Even if I didn't necessarily agree with her, what I really appreciated and kept me going was the fact that she would admit, she writes this well after she's out of office, and so she has that kind of hindsight to look it over and evaluate and say, here's where I was a little off, or since then I learned this wasn't the best choice. She admitted to being mistaken. She didn't, she wasn't trying to lie or mislead her people at the time. She was trying to lead with integrity and what she thought was best, but then she also had the ability to admit that certain things had been a mistake. And I really appreciate that. I mean, I feel like that's really a lost art of having the integrity. And I also had to sometimes stop reading and get on my phone and Google search because I had to learn, how is Parliament in Britain similar or dissimilar to, the legislation and the Congress in the US? how our elections a little bit different, because I would find myself going, gosh, that's not what I'm used to being an American. So I feel like I learned so much, and I even learned some new angles, right, as she's talking to Clinton and the hostages, as she's talking to Reagan, and they're dealing with the British crisis of the Falkland Islands and then American issues. And it was well worth the read. Probably wouldn't read it again necessarily, but if you're into history and you're into kind of the political realm at all, I found it very worth my time. Then finally, on my top 5-star is The Covenant of Water by Abraham Verghese. So I hope I said his name correctly. This is a family saga that is set in India, and I love the title and the theme throughout that has very much into meaning of life and philosophy and the symbolism around water and how that is part of life, how that is part of baptism and rebirth and the river flowing and time. And it is very intense as far as learning the vast majority of the family, of the history, of going through the different generations, how the problems and the dramas and the politics and the things that were going on historically in India. I did note that the author was saying that a lot of these things are based on history, but it's not really written as historical fiction. The point is not necessarily for us to learn the history as it is to really delve into this family. And the overall kind of mystery that really is always at the back of your mind is that we start out from the beginning finding out that there's almost a family curse or mystery around the fact that seems like every generation has at least one drowning. And so you're trying to figure out, is this a spiritual curse? Is this a scientific gene that is carried down? There's several family members that do go into the sciences and some that are wrestling with the spirituality, and you get to go along on that journey. You get to hear all of these family fears and triumphs as they go through life and try to, at the root of it, become a loving, connected family. Covenant of Water coming in at the top, totally a 5-star read for me. If you liked pachinko, if you like Suitable Boy, if you like large family sagas over the generations where a story thread gets woven and have that kind of satisfaction at the end, this is beautiful. The symbolism, the writing style is just gorgeous. Those are my 3 chunky monkeys. If you have read any of these and want to leave me a comment, if you want to read any of these, if you've read something that's similar and you think I should read it, leave me a comment. I will look forward to reading some shorter books, I think, in the rest of the month, and I will be back to review those. Thank you so much. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you later.